Let's get started with today's programming class then. Previous class we started learning about the third paradigm, that is object oriented programming. So we have procedural, event driven and object oriented type of programming methodologies, or we call them as paradigms. Right. Out of these three, you need a little bit extra effort to understand what is object oriented programming is, because event driven programming is very simple to understand. Now, for example, if you take a GUI screen, in a GUI screen there are a lot of user actions taking place. User triggers a lot of actions, so you construct your program in such a way that the program is responding to these user events. For example, inside a GUI program, if you have buttons, right, if you have buttons like this, and if you have text fields like this, I'm not taking too much time to do it, right? Okay, so if you have buttons like this, and the user can freely work with this one by interacting with this. So the user can type something here. Okay, you can type something here in the first text field. You can type in this text field. You can click the OK button, or you can click the cancel button, and if you have a close button, you can close that. You can click on the border of the window and adjust the width. These kind of things are possible to do for you. It's not a big problem, that you can very easily do this, right? So in a GUI, this is how we usually do the work. So according to the action which is taking place inside your computer program, the program is responding to the action by executing the relevant code. For example, for OK button, you would have written code for this. For cancel button, you would have written code for this. So when you are clicking on OK button and when you are clicking on cancel button, it will execute the necessary coding, or relevant coding it will execute. So that is how it does the work for you. Apart from that, right, so the triggering of these events or triggering of these things can be done by sensor inputs as well. You know what are sensors, right? So one day I bought a temperature sensor to the class. In the upcoming classes I will be able to show you some other stuff as well. Okay, so that is about the event driven style. Last week also we were talking about this one a little bit. We were doing something with the comma boxes, then we finished it. Like, I mean, the proper recap for this one I did last week as well. So if anyone having any doubts, any issues, you can talk to me. I can pause the recording, no problem, because I'm using software to do it. I can pause the recording, and if you want, you can talk to me, and we're going to practice this one very well today. Object oriented programming, we will practice it today. Okay, right. So when it comes to the last one, which is object oriented paradigm or object oriented programming, what you need to do is the way we think about creating the program is totally different, because here you think about the program in the way, what are the inputs that you give to the program. I mean, procedural programming, you think what input to be made to the program, what kind of processes need to be done to get the correct output. So you are always thinking in a way of input, process, output. So you remember we did plenty of exercises using pseudocodes as well. So all those examples had one thing in common, which had input process output, input process output. That was the paradigm. Why I am repeatedly saying these kind of things? Because for the assignment you need to know these things, and you will have to do a further internet related research, which means you will have to go to the internet and find some more text. That means in order to put in your report, you will have to further read about what is procedural programming, what sort of advantages it has for the developers as well as for the users, what kind of major drawbacks means, we say pros and cons. Pros means advantages, cons means disadvantages. So what are the major disadvantages of the procedural programming language? Such kind of things only you will be finding using the internet. Further, you will have to construct the program that I am going to give you in the programming LO1 assignment. LO1 will have one task to do. LO2 will have an extended task of LO1, which means you will have to further develop the program which you had in LO1. The same program you have to develop in event driven style and object oriented style. That will be your task 2. Task 3, which means LO3, separate scenario and another question will be given. That will be the major question of the assignment, which will be a little bit complex than the LO1 question. That task also you will undertake and you will do that part. So that task we are not requesting you to do it in event driven or object oriented style. That task you can simply do it using procedural programming methodology, right? So that you can do it in the procedural programming methodology style. Right, when it comes to the object oriented programming, let me do a small recap on what we have learned last week. Because it's a separate type of paradigm in the sense it's a software development discipline or software development style that you're going to follow. Unlike event driven and procedural programming, object oriented style is different. Okay, in order to understand object oriented paradigm, or in order to understand object oriented programming, we need to understand certain words properly. So what is an object, what is a class, and why do we need a class, and how can you make the objects work, right? So these are the 3 things that we did last class. You can switch on your microphones and talk to me. Let's take this part as a small discussion, right? So I'm going to pause the recording for a while. I will pause the recording. Right, so what you can do is after the identification of the proper objects, right, what you should do next step is you should be able to create the objects. So in order to create the objects, what you require or what you need is the thing is called class, right? So class, so that is what you create in Java. Very simple, the programs that you are creating are called classes. So using that class you can get the work nicely done by creating the objects, right? So last class we created something called a calculator. Okay, we created something called a calculator, and we created another class called teacher. So we made the teacher object access the calculator class and do some work for them. For whom? For the teacher object. So we were doing that one. I am not sure whether you practiced it. So those who have practiced, can you raise the hand? This one, you practiced the code. If you have practiced this code, raise the hand. Okay, Shahra has done, Haq, Fazal, Atik. Only 5 people done. Fayaz done, Dhananjan done. Okay, around 6 people have done, others haven't done it. Right, okay, we will continue now, right? So we can take a different example if you want today, and we can do, right? So when you take your Java application, right, after another 5-10 minutes your program will stop. No worries, you just join in from the same link. The session is getting recorded, so no worries, right? Okay, Right, right. I'll create a project very quickly. So I already have one here. It says programming, right? I will create a new file for you, right? Right clicking on the default package, selecting new, then I'm going to select Java class, right? You can create anything that you like, an object which will do a meaningful job for you, and I'm going to practice the object-oriented fashion, right? Object-oriented fashion. So let's try creating a converter class today. Converter. So this can convert like miles to kilometers, milliliters to liters, liters to milliliters, Fahrenheit to centigrade, centigrades to Fahrenheit, right? So those kind of things you will do, right? Okay. So project is that the same project, and package is the same default package, and I'm going to just create this converter, right? So once I do have this one, please very carefully observe this, how it is done, right? Is my voice is still clear to you? Is it still clear? Okay, right. I am stepping back around 1 foot back, and I'm going to type. That's why I just asked you whether I'm audible enough, right? Okay. Now in this program, in this converter program, I'm going to include the data and the methods. Usually, an object consists of data and methods, which means what data will define the characteristics, in other words what the object is. Method will define what the object can do, right, or what we can do using the object. So that is what is basically the idea about data and methods. For the converter class, I don't need much data. If I want, I will write the methods, you know. After finish creating this class, which is converter class, um, you know, we create a class for two reasons actually. For one reason we are learning in this course, the other reason is out of the scope of our class now. So one major reason why we are creating a class is to create objects. So if the object is capable of doing certain works, if it is capable of doing some operations, functions, those functions and operations, we need to build them inside our program. So if you are willing to have like a conversion from milliliters to liters, let's say milliliters to liters, you want a conversion, easy ne, all of them, alright. So uh, you know, children, right, if you have a cup, right, and if you have some liquid, there are measurement units we have, right? Measurement units we have in the small classes we would have learned, right? So um, it is measured in milliliters. So 1000 milliliters equals to 1 liter. That is what the unit that you do, right? So if the value is given in milliliters, and if you want to convert that into liters, what you need to do is you have to divide this value, the milliliter value, by 1000, so you get the liter value. Okay, so that is the idea. Basic idea is this. So milliliters, if you divide it by 1000, then you will get the liter value. Suppose if you have given the liter value, let's say 2.7 liters, then what you have is, this is actually 2700 milliliters. So what you need to do is, this liter you have to multiply by 1000, then you get the milliliter value. So these are the two formulas. Milliliters to liters you divide by 1000, liters to milliliters you multiply by 1000. So this is the tiny calculation that we can do. So milliliters to liters, liters to milliliters we can do. Now this is a tiny calculation. We don't have to focus much on maths here. It's an easy calculation, anybody would understand. That is why I took this one. So the purpose here is to learn how we can implement this one in the real world and for our program. That is why I took this one, no other reason. So let's call one method. Now when you are giving a method, the method should have a meaningful name so that it can do the work, right? It can do the work for you properly. So rather than giving test method, method 1, method A, method later, rather than giving the things like that, try to give the names of the methods very meaningful, right? So when you're writing a method, you can write, first of all, you can say public, then you can write, here we don't write the word static. You can write if you want. I'm not writing the word static. Public, then you will type something called void, and this is called the return type. After that, the name of the method. You can, for example, you can say, I'm going to say milliliters to liters. So milliliters to liters is the name of my method, and I should put a opening, closing curly brace, then I should press the enter key. Now this, I have built a method. If you don't like to write a lengthy one, you can say M to L, which is not very meaningful. Now this method is pretty meaningful, so it's easy. Right, now actually this method does not do any work, right? Now if you want to convert the milliliters to liters, you need to know the number of milliliters, right? So I don't have any clue about how much of milliliters I do have with me, right? So I need to know what are the number of milliliters. So you have two options. One is you can use a scanner class, and from the keyboard you can get the input, right? So you can use the scanner class and you can get the keyboard input. So the user will enter a value, a milliliter value, then you can convert that. In all the occurrences, all the occasions, going for the keyboard input, which means from the command prompt like DOS prompt like input, is not recommended, and it is not possible all the time for you to do. So therefore what we have to do is, we have to make this method in a way that it can accept values. In other words, we call them as parameters. Now you can understand this part, right? Void says what is the return type. I will explain this one a little bit more. I think I have already taught you how to write methods in Java, right? So milliliters to liters is the name of the method, and if you can use here a verb, which is highly appreciated and it is highly recommended that you use this one, right? Okay, children, can you still hear me? How many more minutes it is showing? Another 1.5 minute it will be turning off. Okay, right. Okay, then after that please rejoin using the same link, right? Okay, let's continue. Who spoke to me now? Okay, Dhananjan, thanks. Okay, Pata, quickly speak like that. That helps me a lot, because when I ask you a question, if you quickly respond, that's really helpful. Yeah. Right, we'll continue. Now, children, so I was saying two options are there. That taking the value from the command prompt is not ideal, and all the locations. It is just an option and it's an alternative. Don't go for that. Try to build your method. Okay, try to build your method. That method is capable of getting the input, right? Right. So what you can do is, you will tell, I'm going to give float ml. Ml stands for milliliters, right? So in this you can write a method to convert milliliters to liters. ml equals milli. Still people joining in. There were 17 students, so we have 13 now. Maybe 1-2 minutes. I will pause the recording for a while. Okay, right, let's continue the class. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the parameter as a float value. Here we are giving the parameter as a float value. Then what we need to do is inside the program, okay, I was typing the comment, so what this method is about to do, or why we wrote this method, because in your assignment it is highly appreciated, and it is highly recommended that you write methods methods comments, right? So right, so here you can say float later is equals to ml divided by 1000 f. So we are dividing the milliliters by 1000, so we will get the answer in milliliters, right? So here you have two choices. One, you can say S out. You have out, just you're going to print this one on the screen. You still say liter, right? Who is this? Yeah, okay, Pita. I will make it right visible. Is it visible now? I'm sorry, I thought it was early. You should speak to me quickly, that's why. Right, anyway, it got recorded in the video. The screen is recorded on the screen, right? Okay, right, nice. Let's continue. Now what we will do is we will be continuing the session now. What I said here is the method is written like this, so none of you saw the screen. So method is written like this. So to accept a floating point value, which means in this case it is milliliters, so when you are converting milliliters to liters, you have to divide it by 1000, as I told you now. So that is what we are practicing here. Today we are slowly practicing this very well. That is why I'm taking time and properly explaining you this. Right, so inside this method what is happening is we are dividing the value of milliliters, this one, by 1000, so that we get the liter value. Then we have two options. Now the first option what we are doing is we just say liter, and if we say plus, if you print the value here, then again this is command prompt, right? So always you are not going to build a command prompt app and only for testing purpose and for learning purpose of Java we are using the command prompt, and for sometimes for troubleshooting and debugging we might be using the command prompt. Apart from that, you might not use you will be not using the command prompt much, okay? You'll be not using the command prompt much. So for that reason, what you need to do is you need to understand you need to write a method that can return a value, so a person who is using this method of this class or of this class object, you will be able to use it in any place they want, right? So rather than using the void, if you put void, it can't return a value. Now if I want to return this value, if I say return liter, that is what we found. So that will result in an error because the method is defined as void. Void means, in English, the meaning of the word void means nothing. It does not return anything, right? So it says incompatible types, unexpected return value. Unexpected return value means this is expecting void type and it is returning a floating point value. So for that reason, that is not allowed. So we have to design this method like public float, the name of the method, and we can get it done like that, right? Okay, let's write another method here. Public float liters to milliliters. Okay, so here you have to give the liter value, so I'll type the full one, liter, right? So again, float, you can say milliliters is equals to, here you have to multiply the value, very simple. So liter multiplied by 1000 f, 1000 f. So we multiply the value by 1000, and we can just return ml. So here ml stands for milliliter, so here you can do that. For this one, if you want, you can write a method to convert liters to milliliters. If you want, you can do that, right? Okay, I have built two methods in this one. Then we can build one more method. We will say public, again we'll say float kilometers kilometer to meter. So we'll say kilometer to meter. So you have to give values in kilometers, so that also I'll give float km, right? Then what will happen is you need to find out the meter value. So it's a float meter is equals to kilometers multiplied by 1000. So that will give you in, because 1000 meters equals to 1 kilometer, so that you can do. Then you can say return meter, right? Now I'm going to code a method to meters to kilometer. You can switch on the mic and tell me how should I code it, right? Let's see who is going to help me build this, right? Yes. Public float. Okay. Within parenthesis, what should I give? Okay, meters I have to supply in. Very good. Float. Now value is given in meter, neither. Okay, so what is the parameter which is given? Meter. That should be divided by 1000 f. Right, very good. Right, then we can return what? Meters or kilometers? What? Kilometer. Okay, very good. Right. That's it. Right? Okay. I think only out of 17 students, only one student's mic is working. Maybe. Don't know. Right, anyways, so we built 4 methods inside the class converter class, right? So 4 methods we have built. So next what we will do is we will be testing this method, right? So when we want to test this one, we will save this one inside the same project, inside the same package. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select Java class. Then this program name I'm going to call it as we will call this one as you can say test converter. So this is just a program which will have the main method test converter. After I finish, you should practice this. Right, okay, test converter properly, you should do it, right? So here inside this one we're going to build the main method. So what is the shortcut for building the main method? What is the shortcut to build the main method? Okay, Fazal, good. PSVM. Right. So inside this one, step number 1, what we need to do is create the object. Now if we have the scanner class, you create the scanner class like this, don't you? Actually this scanner class is a class which we have not built it, so we had to import that one. So that is why we import it like this. So when you do that one, you can use it, but this line of code is same for us. Name of the program that we created, name of the class, the purpose of creating the class. One purpose is creating objects, one purpose is having objects, the other purpose is having a placeholder for subclasses. So we are not doing inheritance now at this moment, so I didn't bother about that. Only one purpose I am using, that is to create objects. So we have to have a class. From the class we can create the object. Once you create the object, we can make the methods, we can call the methods, and we can get the work done. So let's see how we can do that. Right, scanner scan is equals to new scanner, so that is if you're going to get the keyboard inputs. So I just type that for you so you can comparatively see how we can do the work. As I told you before, we both are inside the same package, default package. Convertor.java is one file inside the default package. Test convertor.java is another Java file inside the same package. So when you both of them are inside the same packages or inside the same package, you don't have to give the full qualified path or the full path. You can simply type the name of the program, which is converter. This is what we created. So without spelling mistake, you can type converter. So I will type con is equals to, or is assigned the value. You have to use the new keyword whenever you want to create an object. Converter con is assigned the value new converter, and open close parenthesis is enough. Now this our converter class is not accepting any parameters. By the way, this method is known as the constructor method. Constructor method, if necessary I will speak with you now. Okay, so I'm going to delete this code because I just added that code for you to understand comparatively how the object can be created. That is why I just added that piece of code. Actually in line number 8, the code that we have is a pre-built code. We did not develop it, but the people who developed Java have done that for us, right? So we just import that and we call the constructor method and we get the object done. Now in line number 11, what we did was we created an object from a class that we created. Okay, so that is what it is about, right? So we can get rid of this one, we don't need that part. So this is not necessary for me, and you can see there is no errors in my program. Now after creating the object, right, you saw that in the discussion we took. So after you create an object, right, what you can do is the object can do a lot of interactions with other objects. Now we have the con object, which is from the converter class, and there's a test converter. Make sure when you run this program, test converter, now this is the main method, an object of test converter class is created and that is executed, right? So that you don't have to manually write any code in. When you call the main method, it creates an object of test converter and it executes it. So actually test converter class is calling the main method is calling constructor method of the converter class, and it can call other methods of the converter class. Con is the name of the object. You keep the dot and you should be able to see in the alphabetic order. First one, it says kilometer to meter, then there is a method called liters to milliliters, meter to kilometer, then milliliters to liters, right? So first of all we will see the easy one, kilometers to meter. Okay, we'll take the kilometers to meter. So you have to give a kilometer in float value, right? So we will put 2.7 k. So 2.7 f means to 2700 meters should come. Now I can save this one and I can run the project. Shift F6 and you will see no output on the output screen. I can see this is the output window, and there is no output in this because now we are returning a value. See, um, that is kilometers to meters. This is the method we just called. In line number 21, this code returns the value, that means kilometer multiplied by 1000, kilometer multiplied by 1000, and it is written in that value out. So when that value comes, you need to either display it using a method, or you have to store that in a variable. So now see, kilometer m, sorry, float m, I take a variable called m, and I call the method. Now when this method is returning the value, you can simply store that value in m. Now you can display wherever you want. This is the place where I am using the program. So this method we have built in such a way any program can make use of this one. Let's say you want to take the meter value and you want to do further calculations, you can do so. Or it is your simple idea is to take this one and display it on a visual screen, that is in a GUI program, that is also possible. Or if you want to just take the value and display it on a command prompt, that is also possible. So it depends on the purpose, where you want to use it and how you want to use it, but we have developed the method in such a way it will support all those scenarios. Okay, so here I am just printing that one. So I will say meter value is, so I'll just print the value of the meters, right? So let's run this and say shift F6. So it says meter value is 2700, or you can say, once you come here you can say put like that. So it will say 2700 meters, right? So it's very easy to do that. Then let's try another method, right? So this time we will type con dot, we will give the milliliters and we will convert to liter. So milliliters to liter, so we will give 5750 0.25 ml, right? So that's the value there is possible. So we will see how many liters is this, right? So that is also going to return the liter value. So you should have, I will say float L is assigned the value milliliters to liters, right? So we will display that one. Liter value is so I don't have to put any signs there. Then let's run that, and you can see liter value is 5.70525 liters. That is how it's coming properly. Okay, so that is how it is functioning, right? So that is how it's really functioning. I want you people to practice these, both of these codes now nicely, very nicely. You have to practice them, then we can further proceed with this one, right? Okay, I'm pausing the recording for a while for the practicing part. After that I will continue the recording, right? So I'll put a comment like continue. Now students, we built a GUI program, not a GUI program, we built object-oriented fashion program. So we built a class called Convertor, and we have 4 methods here. Step number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to surf the internet and how to look into a formula, how you can make it into a method in here. So because it might be useful for you to do it in your assignment, that's what I'm showing you. We will first build that one here. After that we will create a small GUI program, and we will link this program with our GUI program, and when we click a button we will do the calculation and get it done. So that I'm going to do it the demonstration and explanation part with you. I'm going to share the codes with you, and the video will be there with you. You should practice it after my class. Okay, so we have exactly another about 20 minutes left, but doesn't matter if it goes around 2-3 minutes beyond that. Step number 1 I'm going to do is I'm going to build a method here, right? So let's build the method public float. We will say Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, Celsius to Fahrenheit. So the temperature you have to give in Celsius, right? So we'll take it as C. For these kind of calculations, it's okay, you can put it like C, Celsius, however you want, right? Or temp C Celsius, right? Like this, temp C. I will put just C, right? Okay. Now we need to find the calculation, how to do it, right? So we'll go to Google, convert Celsius to Fahrenheit formula. So it says this is the formula, right? Celsius value multiplied by 9 divided by 5, which should be done inside a bracket, plus 32. So this is the formula which is given, right? So that's how we should be implementing. So I'm going to copy this one. Let's see whether we can paste it here. So yeah, that's the formula we're going to implement, right? So 0 Celsius means 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. So how it is coming is given like that, right? So what you do is here Celsius, right? We can see, first of all we need float Fahrenheit, right? So we'll put Fahrenheit value equals within parenthesis you have to say Celsius value multiplied by 9 divided by 5, okay, 9 divided by 5 plus 32. This is the formula, okay? This is the formula which will convert the Celsius into Fahrenheit. So you can say return Fahrenheit, right? Okay, so that's one. So if you want to put Celsius, spelling mistake. So this goes like 32 Fahrenheit value minus 32, like this. So Fahrenheit value have to be given, like if it is 5 Fahrenheit, that is minus 15 Celsius, right? So how it comes, right? So you have to Celsius Fahrenheit value minus 32 multiplied by 5 divided by 9. That's the formula. So we will do that one as well, right? So we will do another method. So this one we're going to say public float Celsius is this, okay? So here is a float. We should take the value, Fahrenheit value we should take in, and we should use it in the multiplication. So first we will have float Celsius value, float Celsius equals, within brackets we have to say Fahrenheit minus 32, whatever the value it is from Fahrenheit, you just deduct 32, then multiply it by 5 divided by 9, right? I will put a 5 divided by 9f, okay? So then there's a calculation will be fine. So So then we can say again return Celsius. I just showed you one method, right? So when you don't know how to convert a formula, just look at these values, right? So this is the formula given, how it is done. So you change the values and see, we have converting Fahrenheit values to Celsius. So put a different value and see what is changing. Okay, what you need to do. Okay, 12 Fahrenheit is equals to minus 1, that is 11.111 Celsius. So how it is obtained is using this formula. So Fahrenheit value, from that 32 has to be deducted, within parentheses you have to do, then you have to multiply that value by 5 divided by 9, which is coming a point value there. So this is resulting in an answer like this. So for a different formula, this will be different. So that's just a glimpse of an idea I gave you how you can implement this, right? Okay, so these two things we have done. Now we have done this kind of a small application, right? So the step number 2, the next one we're going to do is we're going to create we're going to create a GUI program. Right click, new, Java, that is JFrame form. After my class, look at the video and please do. I'm going to say temperature conversions, right? Temperature conversions. So that's a small GUI program. I don't need it a very lengthy one, right? So first of all, I'm right clicking on the page thing, setting the layout to null layout. Then I will set the border size, right? So double click and obtain that size. Go to my source code, and right after the init components, I will use a method called set size, and I will use the same values. Then I'll come back to the design, right? So I need to have my palette here, right? You can see I have installed some additional components in this. Is you don't see in your one. I have additionally added these red color ones. I have additionally added using third-party plugins. Okay, this computer I'm using for development, so that is why it is having more components. Anyways, I'm going to have a label here, so I will have that one as the heading, right? Then I will have another label here, so that will have the temperature in what value. Then I will give a text field here to take the temperature, and I will have another value, a label here, and I will have another text field, and let's have a button here. Just for fun, I will make it big like this, right? So we will change the label, temperature calculations, right? Okay, this one I will change Celsius. So here we will have the Fahrenheit. Okay, that's Celsius value. Then you have the Fahrenheit value, right? If you wish, you can change the font size and all. It is taking some time, so I'm not going to do it. I'll delete this text, and I will right click and change the name of this txt Celsius, and this one I'm going to change the name of it txt Fahrenheit, and existing text I will delete. Then what I will do is I will change this button, convert, then right click, change variable name ptn, let's say convert. Okay, so the interface part is built now. I will just increase the font size of this. You know, we have to go to the properties if you want to set the changes like that. Choose this. You will have font. Let's change the font size. Okay, 24 bold, that will be fine. And I'll be horizontal alignment, I will be setting that to center. Right, that is enough. When you are doing, you can do some other things. I'm doing only Celsius to Fahrenheit. You people can do it from Fahrenheit to Celsius. GUI part, remaining screen you complete. Okay, I'm completing only this piece. Right, so I have done the GUI part, designed the interface, set the properties. Those are the two things I have done. Now I will double click this button and I will start with my code. So I'm here. Right, you should understand my converter class is inside the same package, same as your GUI program. So I am creating a program here. First of all, converter con is equals to new converter. Right, so that part is ready. Now we need to have a value, Celsius value we need first. So we're going to say float. We'll say C is assign the value. C is the Celsius value. For we can take that txt Celsius dot get text. Now directly we can't do this because this is float type, this is text. So to convert a text to float, I have already taught you the method, which is float dot pass float. Right, so in that we can call this. Now we are nicely converting the value which is typed inside the first text field into a numeric value. Now once we have that one, now we have to use the formula and we can convert that, which we don't need to do that, which we did not need to do that because we have the converter class to do that. Right, so we can say float f is assign the value, that is the Fahrenheit value, con dot we can say Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we give pass in the Celsius value. So Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I think the method name we can give simple C here. That is makes sense, right? So we'll use simple C there. Celsius to Fahrenheit. So now we have obtained the Fahrenheit value. So now we can display that in the text field txt Fahrenheit dot set text. So in a text field whatever you display must be text value. So you can say string dot value of f. That's all the code for this. Very simple, and you can nicely do this one in for your GUI part as well. So I'm making sure most of you can yourself you can push for your distinction. That is why I'm taking much effort on this and I'm doing it. Otherwise, last class I just showed you the paradigm how to do the double OP. We don't need to spend too much time. So we have spent the whole class today doing a proper recap how to do it. Then GUI part, the double OP part we discussed today, how to build the methods, how to create the object, how to call them, and latter part of the class I'm showing you how that can be incorporated with the GUI program also. Let's give it a try for this program and see. Now when this program is functioning like this, nice, so it is asking for a Celsius value. So 100 Celsius we will see, that is the boiling temperature of water. So we'll give 100 and we'll see when we convert that 212 something should come. Yes, we know that 212 Fahrenheit is the boiling point of water. So let's say 5 minus 17.5 Celsius is how many Fahrenheit, which is 0.5 Fahrenheit. Okay, so it's a useful program. Now you can do this if you can make use of this program. That is really useful for you in upcoming programs, right? Okay, so that is how you basically do that. Doesn't matter this, you have a GUI program here. GUI program is just the interface. Through this one you are communicating with your program. Now let's say you want to make modifications to your program, you can simply do that by you can take in the converter class, and if you want to improvise the code, you can improvise the code here. Let's assume you want to control the decimal places to just 2 decimal places, so that code you can incorporate here. So whoever going to use these methods in their applications or in their parts, that modifications that you just did will take place, right? So that is the basic part that we had to learn today. Then what you do is, I'm going to give you the chance now. You should convert this one temperature calculations. I will just change this part C to F here. I want you to build the remaining part, so you will have a heading here. Same program I'm going to share with you. Maybe I can make this one a little bit bigger than like this. Right, that size is not enough, so 150 is the width, I guess. I gave 450 is fine. So this part you should build it and finish it and show me. This part should be Fahrenheit to centigrades, right? Fahrenheit to centigrades, you need to do this part. Okay, right? So the interface, you build it and you can call the other method and see. Method, of course, I built it for you. Fahrenheit to Celsius, I have already built the method for you, so you should be able to do that part, right? Okay, so that's all the things that is remaining for us to discuss today. What is remaining tomorrow for this class is to discuss the assignment. Okay, to get the assignment discussed. So tomorrow's session, please don't miss. Please don't miss. I will let you know whether tomorrow's class is physical or online, because it is programmed online. There is a necessity that I have to come to Candy for some official work. So tonight I will confirm that. Okay, right? People who are returning today from Candy in the morning, who went in the buses from Mavanella maybe. Ayash, no, you haven't gone. Yesterday, anybody who went, please confirm how is the traffic and how is it. If it is okay for me, then I'll be coming in tomorrow, right? Okay, so tonight I will update that, and shortly I will be sharing the links to you, right? Okay, let me stop the recording, right? Don't leave.